On this edition of Somerville Neighborhood News, rallies and the conversation on race, police, and community relations. Listening to the voices of youth, a Revere Beach postcard, and more. Coming up tonight on Somerville Neighborhood News. Hello, and welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. I'm Melanie Morris. Today's Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016. Almost 1 year ago, the city of Somerville hung the familiar Black Lives Matter banner at City Hall. The banner was a show of support after the police killings of several young black men across the country. Recently, the city also hung a banner at its police headquarters to honor the fallen officers in Baton Rouge and Dallas. Last week, Michael McGrath, president of the Somerville Police Employees Association, sent Mayor Curtatone an open letter asking that the Black Lives Matter banner be taken down out of respect for the police. The mayor responded quickly and firmly at a press conference shortly after receiving the letter.
Now those banners, those two banners, they do not represent two competing thoughts. Standing up for minority populations and against racism and supporting the police officers who are sworn to protect and serve our communities, I mean, that should go hand in hand. We should have a culture of respect that flows in both directions. In fact, that respect is the foundation on which our civil society rests. Both of those banners are hanging for the same reason. And we know that too many people have died in a cycle of violence that needs to be stopped. It is a violence that tests us in every community, demanding we either come together or break apart. And let me be clear, communities cannot sit this conversation out. We have a responsibility as cities and towns across the country, as municipal leaders, as law enforcement, and to engage in this conversation. This week, a Somerville police officer, as you know, and the head of the Somerville Patrolmen's Association, penned a letter insisting that we take down the Black Lives Matter banner, essentially asking our city to pick a side. Let me be clear, that banner will not come down. Afterwards, I've received an overwhelming response from the people in this community thanking me for continuing to hang the banner along with the one at our police headquarters. We've also heard from many of our own Somerville police officers that the letter sent by that one officer does not represent all their views on this matter and that they were not consulted before it was penned. What our residents and officers have made clear is they reject the notion that there are sides to pick here, and that we can actually stand together for the principle that every person who leaves their home and every officer who heads out to do their job should return safely. And that is where I think we agree most people stand. And that is why both banners will remain. Both of those banners are hanging for the same reason. As I said, too much violence, too many people have died, and it has to stop.
On Thursday, two groups held rallies in Somerville to support their views on the subject. Our reporter Shelley Shue brings us this story.
Late afternoon rallies at Union Square and Somerville City Hall attracted hundreds of people. Each rally had its own feel, but what they had in common was that they both were sponsored by outside organizations. Local leaders attended both rallies and spoke up for bringing the conversation back to Somerville. Ben and Valia joined several other community activists at the police union rally. Their goal was to open up conversation between the community and the protesters.
Well, I think it's interesting that we've had protests. We have different protests happening, organized by different groups, but yet there's always one question that I keep asking. Where are the minority leaders in all this? Where are the Somerville minority leaders in this? What are their demands? We have, a union that's not from Somerville and the New England Police Union that held their rally here. Then we also have a Black Lives Matter Cambridge rally down in Union Square. But yet, at the end of the day, everyone wants to talk about different things, but yet nobody's asked, what do minorities in the city of Somerville want?
Ward 1 Alderman McLaughlin spoke at the Black Lives Matter rally.
Like I said, I'm here I want to support the movement. I want to be a part of this. I want to bridge gaps. I'm not here to pick sides. I'm not here to draw a line in the sand. I want to erase the line in the sand. I am going up with a few other people. We are going to City Hall because there's another group of young activists up there who are getting involved. If they let me speak. I'm going up there to talk to them and try to engage in dialogue with people because I do believe that we have to build these bridges. This issue is tearing this country apart and something has to change. So I'm here for you and I'm here for everyone and I hope we can build a better future. Thank you.
It is unclear how much support the union demand to remove the banner has among Somerville's rank-and-file police officers. According to city observers, the Somerville Police Department was represented by approximately 7 members. Once the protests are over and all the media attention falls away, it will be up to the police, the city, and the residents to create stronger communication and understanding within Somerville.
You know, luckily, a lot of people here I know, and a lot of people I know everyone else that's here too. So it is one of those things that we're going to continue some of these dialogues on our own. I think some of it is that we should have real community dialogue about this. And, you know, maybe it's, you know, instead of these being one-day 2-hour event, once having a 2-hour event for a couple, you know, a couple of days or a couple of weeks or whatever that is, and really discuss the problem and then say what are the things, you know, okay, we've talked about this, how can we make things better? And then have a list and say, okay, what do we want to work on from here? And really start to develop that.
Too many people have died in a cycle of violence that needs to be stopped. It is a violence that tests us in every community, demanding we either come together or break apart. And let me be clear, communities cannot sit this conversation out. We have a responsibility as cities and towns across the country, as municipal leaders, as law enforcement, and to engage in this conversation.
For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Shelley Xu.
We wanted to know what residents thought about the banner question. Reporter Ciara Speller spent some time in Davis Square getting reaction.
My basic argument, which I don't think I'll be the first person to say, is saying Black Lives Matter doesn't exclude other lives, the notion that other lives matter. Far from it. What it does is it says there's a group that's been marginalized, that's been targeted and profiled, and this is a way to call attention to that group's challenges in the past decades, hundreds of years. I teach history for a living, so this is part of my daily life to think about, and to have that be on a banner on City Hall, that seems like a good history lesson to me.
The union president of Somerville asked that the Black Lives Matter sign that's hanging on the City Hall of Somerville be taken down and that the sole focus be on the Police Lives Matter banner that's hanging at the police station in Somerville. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I feel as if it's unfair and blacks should have their say, and I feel like that sign is a way of getting the community together and showing that black lives do really matter. And so I don't think it's right that they want to take it down.
I am a very dedicated faculty member at UMass Boston, and one of the things this makes me think of is how ridiculous it would be to say that advocating for some of my students means that I don't care about all of them. There's like a certain illogic there that I really hope we can move past.
That people are not really understanding the reason for the movement and the reason for the hashtags and the uprise and the attention. I think it's I don't think there's anybody who is pro Black Lives Matter who is anti-police. I don't think that's what is kind of being connoted by that sign. So I mean, I'm glad that the sign is staying up. I think it's the right move to do. I think it's frustrating that we're even having to have the discussion.
I think that we should be able to hang both signs. I don't think hanging the Black Lives Matter sign should take away from the Police Lives Matter sign. You know, all the lives matter. I don't feel like, I don't think that if I were the union chief, I would have asked that.
I definitely think both banners should be able to be hung. I mean, it's a free country, right? My old man was a police officer, so obviously I have great sympathy for police officers, but I definitely think that both should be able to be up.
I was really proud when that sign went up that we live in a city where people understood how important it was and that the distinction who understood that there was a distinction, that the reason why we need a Black Lives Matter movement is not that all lives don't matter or that police lives don't matter, clearly they do, but that for so long people didn't understand, that people are acting as if Black people matter less than other people, and that's horrible. I think of my own students and so many of my wonderful, brilliant, talented Black students, and every time I see this I think, my goodness, yes, their lives matter.
Both Mayor Curtatone and Police Chief Allen are supporting both movements, and for right now, the two signs will remain. With Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Ciara Speller.
The city will continue a dialogue on race and community relations through a series of community conversations on race and racism this fall. Check the City of Somerville's website for a schedule of meetings. Temperatures have dipped into the 70s after Boston's third longest heat wave in history, 7 days. According to the Blue Hills Observatory, July 2016 ranks second in the most 90-plus degree days since they started keeping records. Although we are enjoying a break from the heat right now, temperatures are headed back up later in the week. Reporter Jeanette Orihel sat down with Dr. Chris Fischer at Somerville Hospital and brings us the story on staying healthy in the heat.
We do see an uptick of patients with a variety of illnesses during heat waves like this, and they're not always recognized as heat related, and a lot of it comes down to people getting dehydrated and not really recognizing it.
Every individual is different, and age plays an important factor in how heat affects each person.
There are some things that are similar and some things that are different between young people and old people when it comes to the heat. Both groups have less of an ability to compensate for the heat. For kids, it's because their physiology is still developing, and they're also not always able to verbalize when they're starting to feel overwhelmed or overheated. With old people, it's some of those same things, but also some older people are on medications that can affect their ability to compensate, blood pressure medications, diuretics that can make you more prone to being dehydrated. Those are all things that can affect some people's ability to compensate for the heat.
With consecutive days being above 90 degrees, Fischer says their biggest concern is people's ability to compensate for the heat and cool themselves off. Long periods of high heat like we just experienced can make it harder for the body to compensate.
Heat exhaustion, put very simply, is when your body gets overheated. And some symptoms of heat exhaustion are things like muscle cramps, excessive sweating, dizziness, cool, clammy skin. And those are all part of how your body is trying to compensate for the heat. It's especially more common when people are dehydrated, and even more common when the temperature is over 90 degrees or the humidity is over 60%.
High humidity makes it more difficult for the body to sweat, which is what helps the body to cool itself. If you are experiencing heat exhaustion, Fischer recommends you get out of the sun immediately, cool yourself off with fans, drink sips of cool water, and pour cool water over your skin to help ease the symptoms of heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, however, is far more serious and can cause organ damage and has also caused death among people during heat waves.
Of heat stroke are if your skin goes from cool and clammy to hot and dry, or if you see somebody and they are excessively hot to the touch, or if they become very sleepy or even unconscious.
If you suspect someone is experiencing a heat stroke, get the person out of the sun and call 911 immediately. Planning ahead and keeping an eye on the forecast before heading out is the best way to protect yourself from heat-related problems.
Probably the most important thing is know your body, know what you can handle, and probably don't start a new exercise regimen during the middle of a heat wave. Know your environment, so keep an eye on the forecast and know what you're heading into when you're going outside, and prepare yourself as much as you can. Bring more water than you think you need, and plan your day so that you're not going to be out in the direct sun for a long time. Preparing yourself helps avoid a lot of problems in the end.
For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Jeanette Odihek.
When the temperatures rise, check the city website alert page for places to cool down and to find additional safety tips. Now, let's see what's in the Somerville Journal this week.
I'm the new Somerville Journal editor, Erin Tiernan. I come to the paper with more than 6 years of experience in local news, and as a Magoon Square resident myself, I'm excited to dig into the issues that matter here in Somerville. In this week's Journal, we'll take a deeper look at what's behind the Black Lives Matter controversy at City Hall, and how police and city officials might start to bridge their differences. We'll also look into the city's condominium review board upcoming decision that could affect apartment conversions, and take a look at 65 new liquor licenses and how they might help drive business. You can visit us at somerville.wickedlocal.com or contact me at etiernan@wickedlocal.com or call me at 617-629-3385.
We welcome Erin to the Journal and look forward to working together here in Somerville. Next, how do young people deal with the political and social turmoil all around us these days? Tonight, we share two very important stories of young people using their voices to educate and understand. Middlesex District Attorney Marian has teamed up with the Middlesex Partnerships for Youth in sponsoring an annual public service announcement, or PSA contest. Young people are invited to create short videos based on a theme. This year's theme was, Write the Story You Want to Tell. Somerville High student and SCATV summer intern, Desi Feldman, won the contest with his PSA, Defeat Stress.
Our office partners with the nonprofit in our office, Middlesex Partnerships for Youth, to do a lot of our school-based efforts. And one of the things we've learned over the years from that is that the best way to convey messages to kids is have kids do it. So the one that was selected this year, Desi's PSA, was viewed by over 1,200 kids who voted on the one that they liked best and thought best conveyed the message and the theme of the contest.
I came up with this idea because stress is something that, you know, it feels a lot of people have to deal with it. I have to deal with it, my friends have to deal with it, and I feel like it's something, being stressed out is something a lot of people can relate to. So I think what problems a lot of people have is that they kind of shy away from stress and procrastinate, or they don't come at it with the same attitude that my little brother did in this video. So I just wanted to say to people that you should go on, head on to your problems and your stress, and it'll help you be happier that way.
What is compelling always about this work is, as adults, we see certain things and we form certain conclusions about what is impacting our kids. You know, I mean, it's no secret now that people feel like kids are under too much stress and maybe they're not getting enough sleep. And we kind of know that in our heads. I think what is always very interesting to me is to see how deeply the kids really are being impacted.
Things like stress and problems, that can be scary, so I wanted to have it like a horror movie tone, sort of. But instead of maybe looking around the corner and seeing a monster, you'd look around the corner and see the word deadlines or responsibilities, which is something that can also freak people out just like monsters.
I thought what was interesting about this was, first of all, his brother's very cute. He's a cute little middle schooler. I think there also was kind of a playfulness, cartoon character to it that kids, I think, always like. So it was taking these very serious issues, the homework pressures, all of these, and then can I step out for a second and think about it? And you really see that in this little PSA. You can see that the young man is really very overwhelmed. Then he takes a second and collects himself, and then his helpful friends battle the stresses. So it's a good thing.
Winning this contest really boosted my confidence in video making. I don't know if it sparked many other projects. I think I might do another project with my little brother using his insane flip skills and jumping around. I think that was really cool. So I might make another video revolving around that. But so far, I'm really happy with the way this came out, and I'm really happy that I won.
It's just a great opportunity for kids to do something different, and that's incredibly effective. I mean, we will show this PSA all year now, so literally thousands of kids will see it. And you know, if that message gets out there, and it's the kind of thing, as you said, you watch this and you talk about it a little bit, so you're getting that message out there, and they're really doing work for us, so it's a great thing.
And here at SCATV, 7 aspiring journalists took part in a week-long summer program called U News. By week's end, they had created a half-hour news show that covered topics from development and displacement to open space.
I watch the news and spend a lot of time reading the news, and I care about a lot of political issues, and I know from my experience working with young people that they care about those issues too, and that they're often not given an opportunity or a platform to talk about that stuff. And you know, the news is not generally made for kids, and it's definitely not made by kids.
Today's top story is about the Green Line extension and how it will affect the neighborhood of Union Square. Rory, Owen, and Anik went to learn more.
We went to the Somerville Community Corporation to speak with members of Union United and find out what they thought about the Green Line extensions.
So Union United is a coalition of residents and businesses and organizations in Union Square that is fighting to make sure people don't get displaced when the Green Line comes in and Union Square is redeveloped.
We also want to speak with local businesses to find out their opinion. How can the Green Line extensions affect your business and your restaurants?
I think that's a good question. I think it will affect us by bringing in more customers that don't drive. It'll be easily accessible for them to get here.
I worked on that there's less houses and GLX, and people are taking other people's stores, and the other people have to go far away, and then they have to leave their stores behind, and they have to make new stores. It made me think that they shouldn't do that, because some people have like Portuguese and Spanish stores, and people want to keep that, but then they'll have to move their stores farther, and people might not be able to drive all the way there.
For the most part, they really were interested in stuff that was in the public interest, and really the main difference was just it's their perspective as opposed to, well, and their, you know, their ability to get other people's perspective as opposed to just adults kind of talking about it without them.
I worked on the clothing pantry where we went to the cutting school, so you can learn more about how the homeless and people who are nearly homeless get their clothes. What inspired you to start working here at the clothing pantry?
Well, I think it's a great program that we have here because we have families coming from Central America, most of them, and they are new to the country and new to the weather, and when they come here, they have no income, and so we help them a lot with the clothing pantry.
Once I've done this camp, and I think I see things differently because when I'm outside and I can see more of what's happening and get more of the sense, get more of the sense and the feeling of how people do things.
When I was doing interviews and stuff, it was like I had to really pay attention to everything, and I think I would probably look at things closer now than I did.
Once we gave them the knowledge and the tools and kind of stepped out of their way, they blew me away. I mean, what they were able to create, they created a 25-minute news show in a week with 7 youth. Am I surprised? Yes, and also just deeply impressed. And it reminds me that, you know what, once you do give young people that opportunity, they really will rise to the occasion and then some.
To watch the entire Villain News Network show, visit the SCATV website at scatvsomerville.org and to check out the programming schedule, or just watch on demand. Next, for anyone who grew up in Somerville during the first half of the 20th century, summers at Revere Beach conjure up memories of carefree days with friends and nights filled with music, dancing, and maybe even a little romance. Our reporter, Janusa Jusufi, joined several members of the Somerville Council on Aging for a day at the beach.
Revere Beach is celebrating its 120th anniversary as the country's first public beach. Young people growing up in Somerville during the first half of the 20th century looked forward to escaping their densely built neighborhoods for the wide sand stretches and amusements in nearby Revere. Pina Mingace loved going to collect different rocks at the beach when she was a kid.
I used to pick up rocks. I used to have a bucket, and I used to go home with buckets full of rocks and shells, seashell. And my father used to say, what are we going to do with all these rocks? But look how beautiful they are. Look how beautiful they are.
Marge Larry remembers the adventure of heading to the beach.
I remember taking the bus all the way from Somerville and spending the day at the beach, which I loved. The water was always ice cold here, though. And one time, I lost my dime to get home.
What are you gonna do?
So I had to walk all the way home from Revere Beach to Somerville.
Revere Beach looks a lot different than it did during Mingace and Larry's youth. Many of the attractions that once existed only exist in their memories.
I just remember all the amusements. Of course, I was a kid, you know, and they used to have this tilt-a-whirl. Oh my God, it would go right on the edge and you felt like it was going to fly off and hit the water.
During its heyday, people from all over came to relax on the beach, taste the many foods, and revel in the entertainment and amusement rides, such as the Cyclone roller coaster, which was the largest in the country in 1925 until 1969. Nights at the beach were just as lively as the days. Young people could find romance and dance the night away at venues like the Beachview and Wonderland Ballroom.
Oh, it looks beautiful. It was all the amusements, eating places, everything. The beach, the way down there where the bandstand was, a beautiful concert every Sunday. It was wonderful. They had the frolics, all kinds of nightclubs, yeah, everything. It was just a beautiful day at the beach.
The amusements aren't the only things that have changed with times. Beach fashion has a different look as well.
There were heavy cotton, old-fashioned bathing suits.
By the time Mingace started coming to the beach, heavy cotton suits were replaced with somewhat of a more modern design.
You didn't see a lot of, what do you call it, bikinis? You know, we had the skirt, we had what is it, a two-piece, but it was like, you know, with a skirt and not like now. The body is too exposed.
Revere Beach itself fell out of fashion in the 1960s. The area deteriorated, and most of what remained was destroyed by the blizzard of 1978. There was a drastic decline in people visiting. Today, an effort to revitalize Revere Beach is well underway. Improved infrastructure, better maintenance, and events like the International Sand Sculpting Festival are welcoming new generations of beachgoers to build their own memories.
I wish they could be, you know, back to the carnival and the park. We had a beautiful time.
For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Janusha Yusufi.
That's our newscast for tonight, folks. We'll be back on August 16th at 7 p.m. on Channel 3. Check out all of our news stories at somervilleneighborhoodnews.org. And remember, Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCATV. We invite you to get involved. Visit our Facebook page, SCATV SNN, to comment. Tweet us at SCATV-SNN. Call us at 617-628-8826 or email us at news@scatvsomerville.org. I'm Melanie Morris. Thanks for joining us for tonight, and we'll see you around the neighborhood.